Enclosed was likewise a copy of the well-known letter addressed by Bonaparte to His Royal Highness the Prince Regent. Your Royal Highness, a victim to the factions which distress my country and to the enmity of the greatest powers of Europe, I have terminated my political career, and I come, like Themistocles, to throw myself upon the hospitality of the British people. I put myself under the protection of their laws, which I claim from your Royal Highness as the most powerful, the most constant, and the most generous of my enemies. Napoleon. On reading the above, I told Monsieur Las Casas that I would receive Bonaparte on board, and immediately forwarded General Gourgaud to England by the Slaney, along with my dispatches to the Admiralty, but that he would not be allowed to land until permission was received from London, or the sanction of the Admiral at the port he might have obtained. I assured him, however, that the copy of the letter with which he was charged would be forwarded without loss of time, and presented by the ministers to His Royal Highness. Count Las Casas asked for paper, that he might communicate by letter to Bertrand my acquiescence in the proposal he had brought for my receiving and conveying to England Bonaparte and his suite. When General Gourgaud was about to write the letter, to prevent any future misunderstanding, I said, Monsieur Las Casas, you will recollect that I am not authorized to stipulate as to the reception of Bonaparte in England, but that he must consider himself entirely at the disposal of His Royal Highness the Prince Regent. He answered, I'm perfectly aware of that, and have already acquainted the Emperor with what you said on the subject. It might perhaps have been better if this declaration had been given in an official written form. And could I have foreseen the discussions which afterwards took place, and which will appear in the sequel, I undoubtedly should have done so, but as I repeatedly made it in the presence of witnesses, it did not occur to me as being necessary. How could a stronger proof be adduced that no stipulations were agreed to respecting the reception of Bonaparte in England than the fact of their not being reduced to writing, which certainly would have been the case had any favorable terms been demanded on the part of Mr. Las Casas and agreed to by me. The French boat was soon after dispatched with the letter to Bertrand in charge of a French naval officer who had attended Las Casas on board, and as soon as I had finished the following dispatch to the Secretary of the Admiralty, I sent Captain Sartorius of the Slaney to England, accompanied by General Gourgaud. Extract of a letter from Captain Maitland, His Majesty's ship, Bellerophon, addressed to the Secretary of the Admiralty, dated in Basque Roads, 14th July, 1815. For the information of the Lords Commissioners of the Admiralty, I have to acquaint you that the Count Las Casas and General Lalemant this day came on board His Majesty's ship under my command with a proposal from Count Bertrand for me to receive on board Napoleon Bonaparte for the purpose of throwing himself in the generosity of the Prince Regent. Conceiving myself authorized by their lordships' secret order, I have acceded to the proposal, and he is to embark on board this ship tomorrow morning. That no misunderstanding might arise, I have explicitly and clearly explained to Count Las Casas that I have no authority whatever for granting terms of any sort, but that all I can do is carry him and his suite to England, to be received in such manner as His Royal Highness may deem expedient. At Napoleon Bonaparte's request, and that their lordships may be in possession of the transaction at as early a period as possible, I dispatched the Slaney with General Gourgaud, his aide-de-camp, directing Captain Sartorius to put into the nearest port, and forward this letter by his first lieutenant, and show in compliance with their lordships' orders. Proceed to Torbay to await such directions as the Admiralty may think proper to give. Enclosed I transmit a copy of the letter with which General Gourgaud was charged to His Royal Highness the Prince Regent, and request that you will grant their lordships that the General informs me he is entrusted with further particulars, which he is anxious to communicate to His Royal Highness. When these gentlemen had left the ship, as well as the Sal's barge, I said to Monsieur Las Casas, I propose dividing the after cabin in two, that the ladies may have the use of one part of it. If you will allow me to give an opinion, said he, the Emperor will be better pleased to have the whole of the after cabin to himself, as he is fond of walking about, and will by that means be able to take more exercise. I answered, as it is my wish to treat him with every possible consideration while he is on board the ship I command, I shall make any arrangement you think will be most agreeable to him. This is the only conversation that ever passed on the subject of the cabin, and I am the more particular in stating it, as Bonaparte has been described in some of the public journals as having taken possession of it in a most brutal way, saying, tout ou rien pour moi, all or nothing for me. I here, therefore, once for all, beg to state most distinctly that from the time of his coming on board my ship till the period of his quitting her, his conduct was invariably that of a gentleman, and in no one instance do I recollect him to have made use of a rude expression or to have been guilty of any kind of ill-breeding.